Everyone, Ed Bixby here from the Global Green Burial Alliance. Today with another Spotlight Now. Gretchen, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Gretchen Spletzer, and today we are talking with Dawn Carson, who has Death Matters, and she also runs the monthly Green Burial Nova Scotia. So I'm just going to read her bio. Dawn has a successful background as a business owner, and currently she's a death doula, community death-caring educator, funeral coordinator, and chair of Green Burial Nova Scotia. She does meditation and she's a certified yoga instructor. Combining a mix of pragmatic planning and compassionate communication, she provides education and tools to make your end of life choices. Serving as host of a Death Café and Green Burial Café monthly as a consultant for Death Matters, Dawn is dedicated to creating a culture of openness around living and dying well. The Green Burial Cafe is hosted the last Wednesday monthly at 7 p.m. Atlantic Time in Nova Scotia, and her website is www.deathmatters.ca. So, hi,
Wow.
Dawn.
Thank you.
Really
Yeah,
nice to see
you
you.
should, I think one should read that to oneself every morning when they get out of bed. Would just kind of like set you up for the day, wouldn't it? If somebody could read your bio to you every
Yeah, to
morning.
refocus you if you're losing any, I
Exactly.
suppose.
Don't get up with like, oh, that hurts or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Well, so we're really excited to talk to you about, well, a couple things I saw on your website, but to start with, the Green Burial Nova Scotia, known, for about 2 years, I think you've been doing this monthly meeting. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Well, we started doing the Green Burial Cafe
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic because nobody was going out and every speaking engagement that we had dried up. And so we needed to find a way to be able to reach people on that subject. And yeah, it's been running since 2020. So, and we're at 2024 now. So yeah, I think we're heading into, yeah, many years of doing that. I can't remember the actual start date of it. It's not, let's say it's 3 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, people turn up every month. It's always great.
Yeah,
It's
that's
kind
great.
of an amazing way to, we've done it lots. Our host who actually hosts that, Hannah, was on our board for a long time and part of our communications team. She did her thesis at university on the subject of green burial, and she always has a rich contribution to make to the subject. So often we'll come in and just say something about why embalming is not green, or what does make a green burial, or what's new in green burial. And then we'll just have a go around and people will say their thing. It's like, what brought you to a green burial cafe? You must have questions. And off it goes. Like, conversation just seems to blossom out of that. And other times we will have a guest who's a bit of an expert in some area or another, related to, natural forms of disposition. And they do a presentation, and then people can ask them directly questions as well. So it's about 50-50. We do have a guest coming at the end of January. Her name is Cassandra Yonder, and she was my teacher for my Death Doula program. So, and she's a homesteader here in Nova Scotia. So very interesting and wonderful guest. I'm looking forward to seeing Cassandra again. It'll be great to have her on the cafe.
Yeah. So do you have like a mixture of people who are families seeking green burial and people who are wanting to just learn more about maybe starting to do green burials in their cemeteries? Is it a mixture or what do you?
I'm not so many cemetery owners or people like that coming. I wish that would be a wonderful audience to have cemetery owners who were interested in the subject step forward.
Mhm.
We get community interest people who want to try and get their local cemetery to convert some portion of their cemetery to green, or to find out what it takes to do that, or where they could do that, or if we know of one in their community that they don't already know about. And yeah, we've had people from Europe and Mexico and Canada and the US and from all over.
Wow.
Yeah, asking their questions like, what is it? How does, they come in with the same myths that everybody who comes to Green Burial conversations come with, that they think, this is green or that is green, or it's not legal, or lots of ideas that they can just ask their questions there. And we get a lot of repeat visitors, especially those folks who are trying to create something in their own community, trying to understand the bylaws of cemeteries, what would be allowed, what wouldn't be allowed. And so that has truly been wonderful. Now that the
Wow.
pandemic's over, we're getting out in the community again a little bit more. So
Wow, Dawn, that's wonderful. I mean, it sounds to me like, you guys are ahead of the curve up in Canada when it comes to really creating a space to create conversation, and that's what's most important. So, kudos to you. Um, Out of curiosity for our viewers, so what is the temperature of meaning? How are people receiving the concept of natural burial, and are you able to get the message out in a way that maybe can stem the tide of cremation?
wow, multifaceted question there. I think the interesting thing that happens when you talk about green or natural burial with people, like we did with the Ecology Action Center. So just to back it up a little bit, we started off as a group, an interest group, right? Sitting around a coffee shop, talking about green burial, trying to figure out how could we advance this idea above and beyond, let's say, what the Muslims and the Jewish community were doing, because they had a much greener approach to the way they were doing burial than that conventional folks. You and I don't know what your spiritual background is, but mine's not one of those.
Mhm.
And so we approached the local Ecology Action Center, which is kind of like the ecological boss here in Nova Scotia. Everybody's heard of them. They're into great big things like transportation, oceans, forestry, food, huge subjects. And so when we went in to see them and said, hey, is there some way that we can fit in with you? Because we were talking about green burial. They were like, oh, of course.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, come. And that does seem to be the response that most people have. They don't, in the same way that we have this kind of denial around end of life happening in all facets, that includes this idea of how and where we're going to get buried and whether we'd like to carry our values into that or not. Haven't even given it any thought.
Mhm.
And so, that's what I find the response is generally, Ed, to get back to your question about, are we able to open that conversation? Yeah, people are kind of have a little wake up moment, right? When you bring the subject up. I can't say that it's the best party conversation. But whenever I'm at an event, here, you can take this one and use it too. All of you people who are interested in this, whenever I'm at an event and have to wear a name tag, I put underneath, ask me about body composting
Mhm.
under my name. And that always makes people laugh and we'll get a
Mhm.
conversation going because they hadn't thought of it in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Like it seems like even though it's slowed at the get-go as far as green burial and the general population, but our legislators and the people who are, have a little bit more power in the world, they even know less, you know?
Mhm.
And then they get hit with these different issues that come up, lawsuits or whatever. Is this legal or is that legal? And they don't even really know. They have to go back and do their own research.
Yeah. I can't say that this is the case, as I'm sure you can't in the United States either, but here in Canada, it's not illegal to have a green burial in Nova Scotia, but it's not legal either. So I'm going with it's not illegal because there's nowhere does it say that you can't do that. And so because of that, we'll just step on the platform of you can do that. And I know that's true in other provinces, but I don't know that it's true in all of them. And as far as the legislation goes, I mean, in most cases where the bylaws of cemeteries come into play, has to do with the way they manicure their property more so than it does with whether green burial is is a true consideration, good or bad, right? Because in most cases, I mean, there's so many logical things that are coming along around not putting toxins in the ground. That makes sense. Let's not do that. Let's give back our bodies to, break down and become rich nutrient soil. Again, yes, Mother Earth needs that. Uh, let's try and take our values with us as we move into our end of life view on how we would like to see things go. And so we don't need to legislate around that necessarily, And one of the areas that we're looking into right now is we have a Conservation Easement Act here in Nova Scotia that has about 10 bodies on it. And the majority of the folks that are on there are interested in huge acreages, like 100 acres or so on, big. They don't want a little project like we are interested in pursuing with some people here in Nova Scotia. That's 13 acres that wants to establish the first public conservation burial ground, it would be, here in Canada. And so we're trying to get ourselves on that list at the moment. Now, we weren't accepted in the first application, but we weren't denied. So now we're rewriting our bylaws and so forth in order to be able to move forward in the process of being able to get on that list so that we could let small acreages of places have an easement to carry out burials. And aside from it not being, most folks want a much bigger parcel of land that they'll give an easement to, there's also the ick factor of death in it that they don't want to have anything to do with, because it's sort of a whole scope of things that they haven't had to consider when they were giving easements for ecological reasons otherwise. And that is proving to be quite a project. Two of the previous board members from the Green Burial Society of Nova Scotia, which is now a certified nonprofit, the Canadian organization is as well, but I think we're the only province that is. And as we're doing all of this, we're trying to document ourselves so that we can pass this information on to other provinces who will have their nuances on how they'd be able to do it. But eventually, it's always been my vision that each province would become a member of the overarching society here in Canada, and we would all be established as nonprofits because you can move forward for grant money and legitimacy, let's say, if you're a certified organization rather than a coffee club, to actually advance the idea of natural disposition in Canada in whatever forms that's going to take.
Wow. Yeah,
Really?
that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
but that's good work. Yeah, you're
Very.
one of Canada's pioneers, clearly, in making stuff happen,
Absolutely. Very good leadership. I mean, that's how you get things done, by leading by example. How would the viewers be able to partake in some of the things that you do, some of the conversations that the society has every month, so that maybe they could become an active voice in the conversation?
Yes. So you can go onto the Green Burial Society of Nova Scotia Facebook page. And right at the very top, there's a little sign up to get the link, to get the Zoom link to attend the Green Burial Café. And from there, it will ask you a series of questions. And if you're amenable, then you go on to our MailChimp list. And very infrequently, but from time to time, we do send out a mailing and some information. And we have a new communications lead right now for Green Burial Society of Nova Scotia. So hopefully we'll become a little bit more active again in terms of what's going on in Nova Scotia and letting people know what we're up to and how they can connect with us. So the best way really to connect with us, to ask questions, is to come to that Green Burial Cafe, which is the last Wednesday monthly at 7 o'clock in the evening. And go to the Facebook page, sign up, and then you'll get the link, and then you'll get the follow-up notes as well. We send out 2 messages around that. One is we're coming up in a week, and the other one is about a week post the cafe. We've made notes in the background of all the things that people talked about and books or places or spaces that they've mentioned. And so we send them out as a set of notes at the end of the cafe as well, so that you can have all that information that we were discussing in that particular month.
Yeah. And Dawn, I think you're the only Green Burial Cafe in the world, actually. I think you're it.
I think, yeah, I think so too. I
Yeah.
would encourage other people to do it. It was born out of the Death Cafe, right?
Yeah.
Death Cafe is something that started in the UK and has become this kind of worldwide movement. And we had been doing that for, 8 or 10 years of Death Cafe as a way we took it online. And so, we got a different kind of conversation and we got people in from all over as a result of taking it online. And there, in a certain way, there is a richness absolutely about being with people in space that is lost in these online kind of conversations. But we've learned how to do it now. And we didn't, and how to get what we can from them. And one of the bonuses is that you can speak to a broader audience of folks and hear more about what's happening all over the world. And to that end, even as a society here in Nova Scotia, we're not meeting together physically, or maybe 2 or 3 of us do, and the rest are online. And I like this idea because it means people can be on our board from right across the province. And they don't have to travel into the main city in order to meet with us, because we all figured this out. This is one of the upsides of a pandemic, I guess, right? You have to figure out your communications. You always intended to, and now you have. And so yeah, so we're able to reach to lots of people and build our board in this way, right? You don't have to be in the room with us to do communications or research or be a grant writer or to find out about soil or whatever it is we're snooping around in at the time.
Yeah. Well, anytime the Green Burial Cafe needs any assistance or speaker or something from the Global Green Burial Alliance, let us know anytime. We'd love
Absolutely.
to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.